About being bothered. Meanwhile, Chiesa has been confirmed at Liverpool. Stevie, are you bothered by this?
Not for 13 million, I'm not. I mean, 13 million is a drop in the ocean, isn't it?
These days.
And so to get a guy of 26 years of age, with his experience, with the potential of him being able to get back to somewhat near his best, it kind of seems a little bit of a no-brainer. You know, he's not coming in and expecting. He's certainly not coming in expecting to play. The club's not bringing him in and thinking he's going to play tomorrow. And if you've got Salah leaving the end of the season, which he probably seemed like he's going to be doing, if you can get Chiesa back to anywhere near his best, then until you bring a superstar in, if you're going to do that, then maybe you can fit Chiesa in. So for 13 million, it's an absolute no-brainer.
So it makes sense for Liverpool, but does it make sense for Chiesa, Gab? Because surely you want to go somewhere where you're going to start.
Or where the guy who starts ahead of you is, you know, in his 30s and in the final year of his contract and is making an absolute mint, and, you know, we'll have a big decision to make. I think Chiesa's betting on himself. First of all, Chiesa is more versatile than just a right winger. I agree with you in the sense that, you know, why Liverpool when Liverpool already have a ton of sort of wide forward and winger types, and Jota and Nunez and Diaz and Gakpo and Harvey Elliott, and there they all are. You know, there's a lot of options. So, like, why would you be going in there? He doesn't fear the competition. You know, he wants to play at a high level. I think he also knows realistically that part of the reason Juve are letting him go is he's got a year left on his deal. He makes a lot of money at Juventus, and, you know, in excess of £200,000 a week, and he knows that his new deal, were he to stay at Juve, assuming they would give him one, and they certainly don't look like they want to do that, would be substantially less. Well, if I go to Liverpool, I don't know the terms of these deals, but if I go to Liverpool and I do well, I'm playing on the biggest stage of the world, one of the biggest clubs in the world, and I can get a new contract and I can make that money that, you know, I think perhaps I deserve. Although, like I said, I don't think it's about the money why he's moving. He's somebody who's always had a ton of self-belief, and he looks at this and he says, you know, I can't be scared of the competition. You know, if I'm scared of the competition, I shouldn't be here. And personally, I think, you know, other than Salah, none of these other guys are people who, you know, Chiesa should legitimately fear as saying, well, they're just another dimension from me.
This is a player who really should be in the 50 million plus category. But because of the contract, because of the injuries, so forth, then this is a deal that I think, like Stevie, is like, why wouldn't you? You're nowhere near overpaying for a player. As long as he's fit and available, which he hasn't been, and that's been a problem. Mm-hmm. But maybe he needs a fresh start. Maybe he needs to get away. Different country, different team, new teammates, and breathe some life into this second part of his career. And as Gab said, he covers, and they've got a few of these players that cover 2 or 3 positions in the front. And that just gives you options, but quality options. If he comes in and he's injured 80% of the time, it's going to be a waste. It's going to be a waste. But you're not shelling out millions and millions and millions and taking a huge risk. There is always some risk. There is wages, and there is a smallish in today's money transfer fee. But if you were sitting saying a couple, 2 or 3 years ago, you're going to get Federico Chiesa for between 10 and 15 million, people would have laughed at you. Mm-hmm. But absolutely, he was a regular international footballer playing at the highest level. Thinking back to the European Championships, which they won in 2021. So a lot of it is going to come down to the player and the fitness, but you have to look at Liverpool and say, all right, they're not going out shelling out for the big stars that are 100 million, but they're looking for those players that can come in and make a difference and maybe rejuvenate their careers, and Chiesa, for me, falls into that category.
Are Liverpool done, Gab, now?
I mean, that seems to be the indication. I mean, Zubimendi, obviously, there was that period when Real Sociedad kept him out of the side. Now he's back in the side. I think that's done. I think they like what Gravenberch has done in kind of his audition there in that kind of number 6 position. So I would imagine they'd be done. I think there's still some suggestion about Joe Gomez, and if he moves on, how do you replace him? I would assume Ben Doak would go out on loan somewhere. But I think overall, I think, they feel Chiesa gives them another option. And maybe it also gives them a bit of leverage over Mohamed Salah in terms of, were he to stay another season, on what terms would those be terms maybe more favorable to Liverpool?
Are you concerned, Stevie, if in fact they are done?
I don't know whether concern's the right word. I think it's clear the fact that they went for Zubimendi. That's the position they were looking to fill.
Yes, and they haven't.
And I don't know whether it's a kind of a false dawn that Gravenberch, who for me has done nothing since he's come to the club, has had a couple of decent games.
Ipswich, Brentford.
But it's Ipswich and Brentford, and that's the problem. Because if they're taking a chance on that, that's where they could slip up between now and the next transfer window. But again, it's one of those situations. Do you want Liverpool, or do I want Liverpool to go out and just get players?
Right,
or do I want to go and get proper players and get the best players and not just a load of bodies to have a big squad?
I think you'd only be concerned if you really felt Liverpool were viable in the title race.
Okay.
And I think that's a stretch.
Third place is basically their ceiling.
You're asking a new manager to come in. You've hardly spent any money. It's going to be a big ask to go with two sides that are already established and the coaches have been in there. And so, a bit like what Stevie's saying, why go up? I mean, maybe they will be. Maybe they can be consistent all the way and hang in there. I just don't think so. So why would you then go out and splash money and panic about it? If Arne Slot's the guy that's going to be in there for, 4 or 5, 6 years, whatever it is, there has to be a bit of patience about this to build it properly. And for those reasons, they probably won't do any business between now and the end of the transfer window. And I think they're going to have to be okay with that. It's going to be a slow building process for Liverpool, getting some out, getting some in. But a bit like Arsenal, when they were trying to get back these great Wenger years, they threw bad money after bad money until they realised it wasn't the way forward. They had to get the bad apples out, the big earners out. They built a little bit slower with younger players, not so high profile. Obviously, Declan Rice and one or two others are. But they brought in some lower profile players and they've built, and I think Liverpool need to do the same.
So quiet window then for Liverpool. The same can't be said though of Juventus, who've been extremely busy this summer, of course. New coach, plenty of ins and outs as well. They've started the season well. They've got 2 wins out of 2 so far this campaign. And could there be another name added to that arrival, Gab? Where are we on Jadon Sancho?
Yeah, they keep getting linked to Sancho and Sterling. I'm really skeptical unless it's some kind of loan deal where the loaning club pays most of the wages. I think they're okay now, actually, in terms of where the squad is. I mean, sure, you always want more options, but they've committed to going with younger players. They've committed with this way of playing. I think they're a lot stronger in midfield with Thuram, Douglas Luiz, and now Koopmeiners. That's a whole new midfield, and they still have, Locatelli and Fagioli, who, may not be a couple of Brian Robsons, but they're pretty darn good midfielders. They're Italian internationals. So I think they have the depth there. And on paper, they're saying, well, we wouldn't mind maybe winning the cup and finishing second or third, but the way this team is coming together and the fact that Motta's sort of shock therapy in terms of style of play, in terms of approach thus far, and we're only 2 games in, seems to be working. I think maybe they're secretly wondering if maybe they can't, turn this into a 2-horse race for the title or even a 3-horse race.
Gab, what's going to happen to the Gab and Jules podcast tomorrow? Because you're in Monaco. Goodness knows where Jules is. What's going on?
Well, Jules is on holiday, but as you know, the Jules never sleeps. He's already been in touch with me. We will be taping the podcast remotely using this fancy technology that we have here. He's going to be on a beach in the Ile de Ré in the Channel, and I'll be here in Monte Carlo.
Wow, professional, as always.
Stuck.